r/ask Reddit. What's a skill you had as a child but lost as an adult? Making friends. I can still do it, but people don't seem as interested in making friends once they become adults. The structure of school is a big reason kids seem to have an easier time making friends. The work is literally done for you. You are forced to see the same people regularly, do things together, and share common experiences. All of it is orchestrated for you. As adults, work friends are basically equivalent to the friendships you made in school. The problem is at work you are usually put together with maybe 10 to 20 people tops. In school you are placed with hundreds. That depends on one's work. I've worked jobs with 50 plus co-workers, and I've worked jobs where I barely talk to another soul all day. But if you find yourself on a career path where working with small staffs or teams of 10-20 people is a norm, then it quickly becomes important to seek out an office culture that fits your personality and work ethic. Not an easy thing to do, but if you're successful, then suddenly it's quite easy to be friends with your co-workers. Falling asleep on the couch and magically waking up in my bed. Have you tried alcohol? Haven't mastered it completely. I wake up next to the toilet bowl. Man, you're lucky to even get that far. Better go practice more. It takes sleeping in your puke to develop ultra instinct, my friend. You know what to do now. Standing up, sitting down or crouching without making old man noises. Have some plat, you filthy old man. Look at Mr. Moneybags right here. My knees pop whenever I kneel after having not bent them for a while. They have done this since I was a child, but now it just makes me look sound old. Same. 28 and my knees have always cracked. Just now the younglings like my 23-26 year old grad school peers make fun of me for being old and making old noises. Being smart for my age. Honestly, times were simpler back then. I've heard that it's a result of people telling you that your intelligence was a natural gift rather than that you worked hard for it. I watched a YouTube video about it and it was interesting. I'll link it here if I find it again. Being truly in the moment, without thinking about the past or future, just 100% into their present task. Responsibilities ruined that. Dancing. By God, I could dance fairly well and would get in school break dance competitions. But as I grew, I became shy and lost my ability to dance. Now I lost most of the shyness, but still can't dance. See, I just became good at the art of dancing so badly that it is entertaining for other people. Ah yes, the classic intentionally embarrassing dad dance. When in school I always played with something, and when the teacher asked me, did you listen to what I said, and then I go yes, she asked me the questions and I answer it. She always looked surprised like, how could you play and listen at the same time? Well, I lost that power now. Okay, wow, a lot of people came over here and helped me out, thanks. Man, I wish I could still do this. Do you realize how productive and unproductive I could be at the same time? Yeah, I know. For whatever reason, I decided, back when I was about 9 years old, that I should learn how to perfectly mimic the voices of my family members. There were two major obstacles to this, completely pointless, goal. First of all, I couldn't practice while I was actually around the people I was teaching myself to imitate, which made getting some of the nuances a little bit difficult. That wasn't quite as frustrating as the second issue, though, which was the fact that my own voice hadn't dropped yet. As a result, whenever I tried to emulate my father, my grandfather, or my uncle, I'd wind up producing a vocal pitch that one might expect from a particularly well-spoken Muppet. When it came to sounding like my aunt or my grandmother, though, I was apparently pretty skilled. One day, during a rather large 4th of July party that my family was throwing, I excused myself from the main gathering to use the restroom. While sequestered in there, I put on a one-man show in the mirror, in which my female relatives were the main characters. Nothing particularly interesting was said, but it was still rather alarming for my eldest cousin, who had seen me enter the bathroom, alone, and then had suddenly overheard two women reenacting a conversation they'd gone through not half an hour earlier. I didn't actually find out that someone had been listening until after I rejoined the festivities, at which point my other aunt, whose voice I had not been imitating, asked me if I'd been mimicking her sister. After I confessed, my entire extended family gathered around and demanded an encore performance. which I eventually, and somewhat reluctantly, gave them. The end results included a round of uproarious laughter, a very brief moment of satisfaction for me, and a bunch of requests for me to say things in the style of my relatives, after which everyone got thoroughly sick of hearing me emulate them. And my father told me to stop. Years later, I asked him to stop doing something, and I used his voice to do it. Sadly, that newfound ability meant that I could no longer imitate my female family members. Too long didn't read. I can mimic the voices of my family members, but I can't impersonate the women anymore. And I used his voice to do it makes it sound like you stole his voice Little Mermaid style. Guitar playing is something you do not retain if not kept in practice. Middle school me could play whole songs on guitar and blow people away with it. Adult me picks up a guitar like, well, there's a G chord. It's like a cozy little house. And then you step outside with a C chord. And then it gets cloudy when you play on a minor. And then you strum a G chord and you're right back in the house. Then Brian walks in and I change up the tempo. Brian walks in and I change up the song, looking at me like he thinks I'm a douchebag. But he's gonna learn pretty fast that he's wrong. Why are you bringing me down, man? Don't bring me down. It would come back much quicker than it took to learn it the first time around. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. I'll pick up a guitar and try to play, and I'll just get frustrated that I'm not as good as I once was. I never strive at being better. Flexibility. I could bend back enough that I could touch my feet with the back of my head, known as the King Cobra. I know, I used to be able to put both my legs behind my head. My boyfriend hasn't forgiven me yet. I'm having a hard time forgiving you from afar. It's like you stole the poor bastard's golden goose. Making detailed sandcastles at the ocean beach. My sandcastles had turrets, windows, moats, towers, and drawbridges. Somehow, as a kid, I knew exactly where to make them so the sandcastles wouldn't get ruined by the incoming tide. First and foremost, happy cake day, friend. Now, onto the topic of sandcastles. Back when I was a kid, I used to make the most incredible sandcastles the world had ever seen. Like yours. They included all of the fixtures that a beach-based fortress could want, including a contingent of armed guards. They were little crabs that I'd captured and dumped inside the walls. When I recently tried my hand at duplicating those architectural achievements, though, I discovered that my talent had receded with the tide. That my alleged castles look more like ruins than anything which could stave off an invasion. In short, I had apparently lost a beloved ability. Not long after that, though, I happened to mention the entire situation to my mother, and she responded by showing me a picture of myself with one of my childhood creations. It was, in a word, uninspiring. Where I had remembered the presence of spiraling towers and ominous arrow slits, I saw only haphazard piles of wet sand. The outer wall looked more like the trail of a coast-dwelling mole than any kind of defensible structure, and even the aforementioned guards seemed to have gone on strike. It was in that moment which I realized something. While I was certainly skilled at creating sandcastles when I was younger, I was only skilled for a kid. Life and experience have since broadened my horizons, imbuing me with the ability to see how things can be improved. I may not yet have the expertise to make the real world match what my mind presents for me, but that's only because I haven't actually practiced at it. In short, I don't think you should despair. You haven't lost a skill at all. You've simply gained a more discerning eye. Want to go to the beach sometime? Being able to connect with people. Somewhere down the line I just stopped being able to actually make any real connections and now just kinda float through life. I took my daughter to an amusement park yesterday. Every single ride she went on was her making friends with people sitting around us or next to us. Hi friend, she say. Instant friendship. When a child does this it seems cute and innocent. When a grown man does this you start to recall all of the serial killers you've ever learned about. Climbing trees. My arms don't have the strength to pull my fat body off the ground, and even if they did I'd be out of breath by the time I reached the first branch, which would probably break under my weight anyway. Now I just remark, oh look, that's a prime climbing tree, and do nothing about it. If I have one of my kids around I ask them to climb so I can live through them. 20 years ago I had a mother of one of my daughter come to pick her up. I was up in the tree playing around. It was embarrassing, but I was having fun. Being confident. Yeah, that shit disappeared for me as soon as puberty hit. That was probably just youthful bravado. Confidence comes after doing something, not before. Being happy. I could eat anything I wanted and not gain weight. I'm 27 and still like this. Been 140 pounds for like 10 plus years. The trick is to chain smoke a lot of cigarettes. Do I have an eating disorder? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. If you decide to quit smoking, the next trick is to drink just enough that you don't feel like eating all day until you can smoke a bowl and just get tired of eating. Amateur Parker. I nearly break my ducking legs just remembering the shit I used to do 35 years ago. I remember when just running for no reason sounded fun. I'd hop on and off things, tumble down hills. Whee, I threw out my back typing that. Being able to improvise and always have something to do. Now my days feel kinda empty. Yes, I used to love Lego as a child, but now all I do is watch YouTube and play video games. Go to find a hobby or two, on top of YouTube and gaming. I'm trying to get a streaming channel going. I'm also big into building Gunpla models and playing airsoft. Hobbies can drastically raise self-esteem and fight depression. I was very good at drawing. Everyone in my family assumed I'd be an artist since I was a child. Eventually, however, I just lost the desire to do it. My pieces could take 20-40 hours and I just never felt like it. If I have that kind of time, I have many other hobbies I'd rather be doing. It's been about 10 years since I've completed a piece. Sometimes I feel sad, and even guilty, thinking about how good I could be today if I'd have stuck with it. Every once in a while I'll doodle on a restaurant receipt, draw a little something for a niece or nephew, or make a detailed sketch of some building project I'm about to start and get a "I didn't know you could draw" response from someone, which feels good. But it hasn't been enough to get me to sit down at the drawing desk, which I'm not sure why I still have. Same thing happened to me. If I doodle something now, I can still see that bit of talent in it, but it looks like crap compared to what I'd create as a teenager. It's not that I ever wanted to be an artist, per se, but I wish I hadn't let the skills I'd worked so hard for fade away. I once sat outside a gift shop and cried until they gave me a toy for being cute. Nowadays I would probably go to jail. As a kid I was exploring by myself and some Asian barber saw me and asked the kiosk owner nearby to give me free ice creams. I basically had free ice creams for life but barely used it since I was, still am, shy and didn't want to take too much. It was around 10 years ago and I wonder if either of them are still there. There's a picture of me somewhere as a kid basically tightrope walking across a very narrow 9 or 10 foot high brick wall at my parents' place to try and get a football down off a garage roof. I remember doing it too, and having absolutely zero fear, safe in the knowledge that I fell off I'd pretty much bounce and be fine. Nowadays I have serious concerns when I climb a stepladder to change a light bulb that I might fall off that single step, land funny, and die in agony having my face eaten by cats that I don't even own. Being fearless and squishy is basically a kid's superpower. Naps? Don't worry, those come back to you. I used to have a magic spot on my bedroom floor where I could throw all my clothes. The next day, they would have disappeared from the floor and would be in my closet, all freshly cleaned. I don't know if it's a skill that I have lost or if something is wrong with my room now, but since getting my own place, no matter where I throw my clothes, they just stay there on the floor until I have to eventually and begrudgingly pick them up and wash them myself because I have run out of clothes to wear. My fantasy went away with the years. I wish I could still entertain myself for hours with literally nothing but my imagination. Calculus. It took so much effort to learn it. Now that it's been 15 plus years since I used it, almost all of it has evaporated from my brain. I can still do simple derivatives and really simple integrals. That really bothers me. Playing video games for hours on end. Now I need to force myself to get through the stages levels. I had this feeling a while ago, but then I took a step back and realized almost every game I owned was a shooter or some kind of competitive multiplayer thing. After branching out to different genres, I've been able to rekindle that joy of getting lost in a video game. Doing stupid shit like basically throwing myself down steep grass hills and scrambling over rocks boulders without thinking about it. 3 knee dislocations in adult life, and thinking about doing any of the above basically gives me minor panic attacks. Singing. Then puberty hit. I could fit in a small part of my wardrobe. Used to hide there when I didn't want to take a shower, lol. The ability to sit crisscross applesauce. I'm old enough to remember when it was called sitting Indian style. Also, I can't sit like that anymore. It hurts my hips. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.